Snow slams against Spokane's empty streets. In a back alley lit by a flickering neon sign, a German Shepherd 9 named Archer lowers his head and growls low. Not a danger approaching, but danger already watching. Curled inside a soaked cardboard box is a 5-year-old boy. His fingers blue, clutching a dented tin box as if it holds the last piece of his world. It just might. A shadow steps closer, one hand in a pocket, the other holding something the boy knows too well. But tonight, fate changes direction. Archer plants himself between the boy and the path. His breath steams like a warning. And somewhere beyond the storm, a grieving cop is about to find the miracle he stopped believing in. Spokane, Washington, 6:42 p.m. mid-December. The storm had rolled in before the city had time to warn anyone. Spokane wasn't built for this kind of cold. The roads were sheets of black ice veiled under thick wind-pummeled snow, buildings blurred into monochrome blocks under a sky the color of steel, no birds, no color, just wind and white. Streetlights flickered behind curtains of falling snow, casting amber glows that barely reached the frozen pavement. The air was so cold it sliced through the seams of every coat, and every breath felt like breathing glass. Even cars had given up. Officer Ray Delgado sat behind the wheel of her patrol vehicle, watching her breath fog the inside of the windshield. Her eyes, sharp and tired, scanned the alley they'd pulled into. She'd been patrolling for 9 hours. A domestic dispute, 2 accidents, and 1 call about a man threatening to freeze himself shirtless in protest of government-controlled snowfall. Spokane in winter could be a strange place, but tonight felt different. Tonight felt heavy. Ree was tall with a lean frame built from years of chasing suspects through alleyways. Her black uniform hugged her like armor. A faded tattoo curled around her left wrist. Her hair, thick and black with scattered silver, was pulled into a tight knot. She was 36 and had the demeanor of someone who used to laugh easily but hadn't in a long time. There was a sharpness to her, like her past was made of shards she learned to walk across barefoot. In the passenger seat, Maximus shifted. The German Shepherd's ears pricked forward. A low whine rumbled in his throat. "What is it?" Rye asked, glancing over. Maximus didn't answer, of course, but Ree had long ago learned to trust his instincts. Maximus wasn't a rookie, nearly 10 years old. He was once the crown jewel of the K-9 unit. Sleek, muscular, with a coat of dark sable that still gleamed beneath the frost. He had a small nick on his left ear, souvenir from a suspect with a knife. After a failed drug bust 2 years ago, where his handler had been shot, Maximus hadn't worked the same. He growled at sudden noises and refused to train with other officers. Most thought he was washed up. Rye didn't. She took him home when no one else would, and he had become something of a ghost in the department. Old, quiet, loyal to one soul only. Maximus let out a sharp bark and nudged the door with his paw. "All right," Ray muttered. She slid out into the cold snow, immediately crunching under her boots, the wind grabbing at her coat like a thief. Maximus leapt down beside her, nose to the air, muscles tight. The alley was mostly dark, just a row of dumpsters, some recycling bins tipped over by the wind, and a sagging chain-link fence. Ray's flashlight beam cut through the flurries. Then she saw it. A cardboard box half collapsed, tucked into the crook where 2 brick walls met. It shouldn't have caught her attention. Dozens of transients used boxes as windbreaks, but this one had movement. "Stay!" she whispered to Maximus, who ignored her and crept forward, every paw step careful. As she approached, the flashlight revealed more. Inside the box was a child, small, curled tight like a comma, buried under a threadbare hoodie too big for him. His face was pale, lips bluish, but he was breathing. Inside, the front desk was manned by Deputy Sarah Collins, who looked up from her paperwork as they entered. Sarah was in her early 30s, tall, lean, with sun-weathered skin and auburn hair tucked under a beanie. Her uniform was wrinkled and a touch too large for her wiry frame. She had a reputation in the department. Blunt, no nonsense, but kind once you got past the sarcasm. Rumor had it, she'd been a teacher before joining the force after her brother overdosed. She never talked about it. "Late for bedtime stories, Ray," Sarah quipped, eyes shifting to James. Her tone softened. "Where'd you find him?" "In an alley behind Beacon and Main. Box, no shoes. Holding this," Rye replied, nodding toward the tin. Sarah stepped around the desk and squatted to meet James' eye level. "Hey, sweetheart, I'm Deputy Sarah. That your treasure box?" Jane didn't speak. He clutched the tin harder and leaned subtly behind Maximus, who hadn't moved from his place beside the boy. The dog sat like a sentinel, his gaze trained on anyone who came within reach. Sarah didn't push. "Let's get him into the interview room," she said, standing and glancing at Rye. "Warmer in there." The room was small, plain, a round table, 2 chairs, a wall-mounted clock that ticked slightly louder than it should. Rye guided Jane in, then disappeared to grab a blanket from the supply room. When she returned, she found him still standing near the wall, his eyes darting from corner to corner as if assessing whether this place was another trap. Rye didn't force him into the chair. She simply draped the blanket over his shoulders and sat down, letting the quiet stretch. Maximus lay down between them, resting his chin on his paws. "You hungry, Jane?" He nodded slowly. She stepped out briefly and returned with a small pack of crackers and an apple juice box, leftovers from the community donation box they kept for lost kids. Jane took them without a word and began eating with careful, almost mechanical movements. Only once he'd finished did Ray gently tap the box. "Can I see what's inside? Just to help. I won't take it from you." He stared at her, measuring. Then, with slow fingers, he undid the rusted latch. The lid creaked open. Inside was a single photo, creased and faded from moisture. It showed a woman in scrubs, smiling with her eyes closed, hair pulled back in a messy bun. Jane beside her, smaller than now, missing a front tooth, beaming with a crayon in his hand. The photo was torn at the bottom. Someone else had once been there, now cut out. Next to it was a crumpled piece of yellowed paper with a faded logo, Hartman Cold Storage, and beneath it, scribbled in pen, Unit 9, Bricks, Frozen 14. Ray felt the hairs on her arm rise. The Hartman facility had been shut down 5 years ago after a class action lawsuit claimed unsafe labor practices. Mostly low-income and undocumented workers had been underpaid and overworked in freezing conditions, many developing permanent injuries. The owner had settled and quietly vanished. Most of the case files were buried so deep in bureaucracy they may as well have burned, but Bricks, that name triggered something. Jane closed the box again, holding it tighter. "Don't let them take it," he murmured. "Who, Jane?" Ray asked softly. "Who wants to take it?" He looked down. "The man with the cut, he took Mama." She blinked. "Cut?" Jane reached up and traced a line across his own cheek just beneath the left eye. Rye filed it away. Sarah entered with a soft knock. "I called CPS, but with the storm, they'll be hours. Overnight hold." "Yeah," Rye said. I'll stay." Sarah hesitated, then stepped back. Jane had curled up in the chair by then. Maximus curled beside him like a living pillow. Ray sat there, watching them breathe. She didn't know what kind of system Jane had slipped through, but she could feel it in her bones. This wasn't a new thing. This boy had been surviving for a long time. She stood, dimmed the lights, and sat again. Somewhere between the hum of the vents and Maximus' soft snoring, Jane fell asleep. The box stayed in his lap like a totem, like proof that someone once loved him and that he still remembered. Ray watched the snow thicken outside the window, and somewhere in her chest, a door cracked open. The next morning, Ray hadn't slept. Her thoughts kept circling back to the tin box, the photo, and that scrawled name, Bricks. She'd run the name through their system before sunrise. One hit. Tommy Bricks, age 42, former security contractor, last known employer. Hartman Cold Storage. No criminal record, but flagged in a closed investigation file. Sarah entered with a folder. Got a location. One of the old dispatchers remembered a warehouse out near the freight yard. Unit 9 used to be a blast freezer, condemned 2 years ago after a pipe burst. Ray left Maximus with Jane and drove alone. The freight district was where Spokane went to rust. Unit 9 was easy to spot. Inside, the warehouse smelled like rust and rot. Near the back, Ray found a metal hatch sunk into the floor, a cold storage unit with frost still clinging to its edges. The door wouldn't open. Someone had reinforced it with a second bolt. Recently, footsteps behind her. A maintenance worker startled. "You're not supposed to be in here." Ray stepped forward. "Badge out." "Officer Delgado. What's your name?" "Paul Kessler. I just do snow removal once a week. Get paid in cash." "Who pays you?" "I don't ask. Envelope under the mailbox every Monday." She had him show his work log. On the last page, a date circled in red. December 3rd, new padlock installed on Unit 9, paid extra. "If anyone asks, you didn't see me." Back at the station, James looked up at her. You went to the cold place. Rye froze. How did you know that? James shrugged. I saw it in my sleep. She sat across from him. Did your mom work there? Jane nodded. Was Brooks her boss? I think so. He yelled a lot. Had a scar like a dog bite. Had a scar like a dog bite. Ray exhaled slowly. The warehouse hadn't been abandoned. It had been locked, sealed, preserved, and something or someone was meant to stay inside. Ray drove to Clearview Pines Assisted Living Center. Room 114 belonged to Linda Hartman, widow of Malcolm Hartman, who had founded Hartman Cold Storage in 1981. Linda sat in a recliner wrapped in a fleece blanket, late 60s, silver hair neatly pinned, sharp green eyes. You're not hospice, she said. Detective Ray Delgado. I'm here about the Maple Warehouse. Linda's gaze sharpened. That place is still standing. Barely, but someone locked it recently. Linda turned toward the window. My husband built that warehouse to store frozen goods, but it became something else. He stopped letting me in after 2004. I knew something shifted when he brought in outside security. One of them was Bricks. Never liked him. Always stared at people like he was measuring their breaking point. Did you ever see a young woman there? Early 30s, brown hair, wore scrubs. Linda's gaze softened. There was a nurse who used to show up late, always at night. She had kind eyes. She was scared of something. I left him the week after. I tried to blow the whistle, but it was too late. Who else knew? Peter Gollin. Worked logistics, retired after the lawsuit. Lives up in Wellesley. And Bricks. If he's around that warehouse, he's not protecting the company. He's protecting what's buried under it. Back at the station, James was coloring at Ray's desk. Hey, partner, mind if I ask you something? James looked up. The man with the cut. Did you ever hear him say anything about the cold place? James nodded. He said nobody hears frozen people scream. Rye stiffened. Sarah dropped her mug. The ceramic shattered. The message came just after dusk. Fire call, Sarah said. Maple District, old warehouse block. Spreading fast. Rye was already moving. She took her own car. Maximus jumped in. In the back seat, James clutched his tin box. When they arrived, the fire had devoured half the block. Smoke coiled into the sky. I heard something, James said. I think someone's still in there. He pointed. Back wall. Rye didn't wait. She grabbed a mask and coat and darted toward the rear fence. Maximus followed. She found the hatch. The bolt was half melted. Then she heard it knocking, weak but steady. Hold on, she yelled, twisting the latch. It cracked, gave. Inside was darkness. Then movement. Two figures emerged, children barefoot, coughing. Rye pulled one under each arm. Maximus, go! They burst through as the roof collapsed behind them. James ran to the children and hugged them fiercely. I knew you were in there. Maximus sat panting, smoke-blackened but proud. The rain returned 3 days after the fire. Detective Ray Delgado stood by the crime board. Someone else was involved. Someone inside. Captain Ferris stepped in. You haven't gone home since Sunday. I will when he's safe. You're implying a system failure. I'm implying someone new. A knock came. Officer Keegan. There's a visitor. Says he's a lawyer. Wants to speak to the boy. When Jacob Lell arrived, Ray instinctively disliked him. Tall, lean, mid-40s, expensive coat. I represent the Hartman estate. I'm here regarding James. We're here to assume guardianship. You'll have to go through Child Protective Services. Lell smiled faintly. We have papers. The boy's mother signed a private guardianship agreement. Ray studied it. The date was 6 months ago, 2 weeks before Leona disappeared. This doesn't make sense. Where is she? Presumed deceased. You'll have to wait. James not going anywhere tonight. Lell's jaw tensed. We will be back tomorrow with court orders. That night, James barely spoke. They want to take me away again. Rye crouched beside him. They'll have to get through me first. The next morning, Ray sat over a forensic report. The ink was less than a week old. Whatever Leona McKenna had signed, it wasn't 6 months ago. She marched to the captain's office. Forgery confirmed. That paper Lell brought, fake. Ferris leaned back. So custodial fraud. You think Lell knows? I think he's the architect. We need to tie this to Hartman's trafficking ring. I have an idea. Ray drove to a halfway house. She found Gracie Teller in the back lounge. Detective Delgado, didn't think I'd see you again. You're clean now. Gracie laughed. Clean's just a word. I need your memory. Is this about Hartman? Someone's still pulling strings, trying to claim a kid who should be free. Gracie lit a cigarette. There was a man, tall, gray suit. Came late at night. We called him the Ghost. Said he was cleaning up loose ends. Paid for silence. Was his name Lel? Gracie nodded. If you testify, we can protect you. That evening, Rye visited Eddie Nolan, a retired forensic handwriting analyst. She handed him the document. I need to know if the hand that wrote this is Leona McKenna's. Eddie studied it, then pulled out samples. I still have her writing from 3 years ago. He worked in silence. Finally, he looked up. This isn't her hand. Whoever wrote this knew her style, but not her pressure. The real Leona pressed hard. This one floats, a forgery. A damn good one. But yes, you'd testify. For you, always. At the county courthouse, Detective Ray Delgado stood outside with James and Maximus. Inside, Judge Marlene Whitaker was already seated. Jacob Lel sat on the plaintiff's side. Miss Delgado, on what basis are you appearing? Your Honor, I'm petitioning for temporary protective custody on the basis of fraudulent guardianship. Ray presented the ink analysis, the handwriting expert's testimony, Gracie Teller's statement. Then Rye called James to the stand. Mr. Jacob never hugged me, he said. He told me not to cry, said boys who cried went back to the hole. I don't want to go back. Your Honor, the boy is not asking for charity. He is asking for safety. Whitaker was quiet. Then she looked toward the CPS representative. Do you have a placement recommendation? Yes, Your Honor. The boy's biological aunt has been located in Oregon. In the meantime, Detective Delgado has petitioned for temporary custody given the bond between her canine partner and the child. The judge nodded. I hereby revoke the custodial claim of Jacob Lel. Temporary guardianship is awarded to Detective Ray Delgado under CPS oversight. She paused. This court believes in second chances, and some arrive on 4 legs. The gavel struck. Outside, snow began to fall. Ray knelt by James. You did good today. James looked up. Are we going home? Yeah, we are. Maximus barked once, then leaned into the boy's side. For the first time in weeks, James didn't look back. Sometimes miracles don't come with lightning. Oh, they come quietly, like a boy clutching a metal box in the snow, or a dog who refuses to walk away. Perhaps it was chance. Perhaps it was God working through kind hearts. But either way, James was never truly alone. And maybe neither are we.